When we last left off, we were looking for Victoria, but she is not around. We asked the head officer on duty, and he said talk to him alone. So that's what we're going to do now.
Hi, officer. How can I help you? I'd like to talk to Malone again.
Listen, I'm fed up with you. If you want to go talk to the lieutenant, go on your own. You know the way.
Just quick, make sure it's recording. I have to do this, but it only takes a couple of seconds, and it saves me from having to do a video all over again.
Del Nero, you finally decide to give a full confession?
I've received a visit tonight. A guy who claimed to be a police officer searched my apartment.
Don't make up stuff. I didn't order any search.
I never said he was a police officer. I just said that he claimed to be one. The owner of my apartment believed him, and the guy had a nice private viewing of my personal things.
I don't understand why you're telling me this, Del Nero. You aren't dumb enough to think that a story like this would turn my suspicions elsewhere, are you?
I gave up a long time ago on trying to convince pigs to fly.
Careful with what you say and tell me what you want.
I have reason to believe that the person who paid me this visit is part of a criminal organization.
It looks like you have a lot of enemies, Del Nero. I suggest you take it easy with your nighttime visitors. Your ex-partner hung with a rough crowd in Los Angeles.
What crowd?
It looks like Black Lily was on it.
Black Lily? The mob in Los Angeles?
Exactly, Del Nero. It looks like your time in the slammer might not be the worst thing that could happen to you.
Yeah, the typical choices that life always presents me with.
If you want protection, I can offer you a stay in one of our cells.
I'd rather be shot than eat that swill that you call a meal. I've already tried it.
Now the choice is yours.
I have some questions about Sean.
Why should I answer your questions? You haven't thought of investigating for you. We aren't in a crime problem.
If I do nothing, I'll end up behind your threats or...
Provoke all.
I was looking for Sergeant Diaz.
Sergeant Diaz isn't here. I thought it'd be better to assign her to a case outside the city.
Afraid that she could help me, Malone?
In the situation you're in, Del Nero, not even the President of the United States could help you. She paid your bail, but that only gave you a few more hours of freedom, nothing else.
Goodbye.
See you soon, Del Nero.
Dannazione. This will have to go to the pier.
Black Lily was after Sean. It's not as bad as you might think. At least I have a lead to follow now. I need to find some information on this organization. A while ago, I got a journalist, a certain Moore, out of trouble. He was investigating the Mafia in New York. Maybe he'll be able to give me some more information about Black Lily's activities. His number will definitely be in the phone book.
Okay, now we need the phone book. Let's see if they have one here.
Hi,
How can I help?
Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Well, let's go back to the apartment.
John's cab.
Where you want good?
Let's go to the port first.
The Melville Port in Brooklyn.
Receive.
I'll always go back later and look up the number.
A metal door. It's closed.
No doubt he'll want to open it.
No, Hi.
Police again? What do you want now? I already answered your questions.
I'm not a police officer.
No? Then who are you? You're not one of those dumb journalists who are always looking for conspiracies and scandals everywhere, are you?
I'm a private detective.
Well, I don't care who you are. You'll find a way to bug me anyway, right?
I guess so. Anyway, I just have a few questions to ask you. What are you doing here?
It's the same question that I'm asking myself. I was woken up in the middle of the night by a call from the police who ordered me to close the port due to an investigation.
So you were the port manager?
You could say that. Actually, I'm the only one here. I'm the port manager, the secretary, and even the cleaning crew.
Why did they make you close the port?
The police decided to close the entire port until they complete their investigation. And I have no way of knowing how long it will take. So I have to call the captain of every ship headed here and tell him that he has to unload at Kips Bay instead of here.
If the port is closed, like you say, I doubt you'll have a lot of work to do.
I don't care about the boats. But tomorrow, the good Lewis was supposed to disembark with my good Chilean friend that brings me some of the best grog I've ever had. Now I'll have to wait more than a month to see him, and I finished my last bottle last week.
If I want some information, the grog seems a good way to bribe him. Why did they...
So you
So I have to call...
If the port...
But tomorrow, the good Lewis was
Lewis.
supposed to disembark with my good Chilean friend that brings me some of the best grog. Now I'll...
Lewis and his Chilean friend.
What do you know about what happened here tonight?
I know that one guy bumped off another guy, and he picked this port to do it. That's what I know, as I told the police over and over again.
You don't seem too surprised by what went on.
It's not the first time, and it won't be the last that someone gets bumped off around here.
Has it happened before?
You can set your watch by it, just like my rheumatism. This port has its share of some of the worst scumbags in New York, and sometimes we even manage to get a few troublemakers from out of town. Once they even found a Chicago police lieutenant drowned under one of the piers.
A well-attended place, I'd say.
It wasn't always like this. In the good times, the port was the apple of the eye of Brooklyn's commercial activity.
Tell me about the port.
It was the beginning of the century. New York felt like it was the capital of the whole world. I was just a young sailor with a few dollars in my pocket and no reason to stay on the mainland. The port owner was old Svensson, a Swede who seemed anything but a sailor. In fact, he couldn't have told you the difference between a swordfish and a canister of gasoline. But he knew business. Oh yes, he knew it all right. That guy transformed this place into one of the most important hubs on the East River in just 3 years.
This port doesn't seem like a place where a lot of ships could dock.
You shouldn't look at it now. Half of the port is now demolished and sold. Once there were more than 10 piers. Now there are only a couple. Old Svensson had them build huge ones, so that even the biggest fishing ships could dock.
Why was part of the port sold?
It's a long story. During the port's most active years, I worked at the harbor master's office. An accident involving my right leg stopped me from sailing for a few months. Since I was one of the few who could read or write, I was put in charge of handling port procedures. Everything seemed to go fine, business was good, but Svensson started to change over time. I'm not saying that he looked like one of us, but he started to lose that look of a king that he had when he got here. And he started getting strange visits. Then one day in April of 1926, John Grenz, known as the Ace of Spades, found his body floating near the mooring right near his office. The police said that it was a suicide, but none of us believed it. Old Svensson had been neglecting himself, okay, but he still had the will to live. The funeral had barely happened when a certain Pruny, some fat, half-Italian, half-Turkish guy, took over for old Svensson. Within a year, he sold part of the port and fired half of us. I was the only one to keep my job, and I became the harbor master.
Fascinating story, but something doesn't make sense. The recession has shut down businesses that were a lot stronger than this little port. How have you managed to survive this long?
You're quick on your feet, son. The answer is simple. Cruises to freedom.
Cruises to freedom?
Right. If someone wants a change of scene without anyone knowing, this is his ticket to freedom.
You mean that criminals can illegally escape from this port?
You can do the math. I learned not to ask questions.
I sure don't ask a lot of questions when Sean came through. But I wonder if all that has something to do with what's going on.
Did you see a man with a girl tonight?
It looks like you know more than you pretend to, son.
So have you seen a little girl?
Sorry, but I can't give you any information about who leaves from the port. It's the rules.
What the
Did you let a man named Ford board?
No way, son. The rules are rules. I can't say anything about the people who leave from here.
Come on, don't mess around. Tell me what you saw tonight.
I'm telling you, the rules say that I can't give out any information about the people who leave from here.
I guess I'll have to find the grog.
I don't need any.
Good luck, son.
Obviously can't go back there.
I could ignore the seals and go in. By now, there's probably nothing of interest in the pier area. Forensics must have carried everything away by now. They don't fit in my... These are the typical things that are...
Let's go back to the cab. Go home.
Where you want to go this time?
Essex Street, Lower East Side.
Okay.
I should be able to find Moore's number in the phone book.
What was he?
Let's see if I can find Moore's telephone number in the phone book. Moore. I just remember the last name, but he had a pretty unusual first name. I'll remember it if I see it written. Violetta Moore. That's the name. What kind of name is Violetta for a guy? Anyway, his number is 555-4897. I hope he's still alive. This guy has a real knack for getting into trouble.
Wrote that number down. Not automatically do it, but I'm gonna have to manually do it, so we'll see.
New York.
Can you...
What's the
Violetta Moore, 555-4897.
Wait a second.
Hello?
Am I speaking with Violetta Moore?
You're talking with his ghost. It's the middle of the night. Who the hell is calling at this hour?
I'm Del Nero, the detective that...
Del Nero, old son of a gun.
I see you still remember me.
Hell, you saved my skin in that story with the syndicates a few years ago. How could I forget you, old buddy? How you doing?
Same old.
Bottle in the hand and bills to pay, huh?
More or less.
You must have a good reason to call in the middle of the night.
I need some information.
Well, you called the right number. You give me a name and I'll tell you all about the skeletons in his closet.
Do you know an organization called Black Lily?
Damn, you don't mess around. It's better not to step on those guys' toes if you don't want to find yourself neck-high in shit.
What do you know about them?
Black Lily is one of the strongest mafia families in Los Angeles. In the mid-1920s, they started to grab power when the other families were busy fighting amongst themselves. They figured out that the time of gangsters armed with Thompsons was winding down, and they started to make headway corrupting and forming alliances with politicians. No contrabands or killings. They got what they wanted with cold, hard cash. In Los Angeles, they say that Black Lily doesn't kill you, it just steals your soul.
Do you have any names for me?
How many do you want, bud? The head of the organization is a certain Tommaso Venanzi, one of your compatriots. But don't think of him as a classic Italian-American gangster. Venanzi is an attorney and he comes from a good family. He's smart enough to know that greasing the right hand is worth more than 1,000 armed men.
And who greases those palms in New York for him?
A half-Canadian called Samuel Cutter. He's an attorney too, if I remember correctly.
Samuel Cutter. I think I've already heard that name before.
You definitely read about him in the papers. He was tried for the murder of 4 policemen a while ago. Came out of it as clean as a baby's ass when it gets off the changing table. But he made a mistake. He underestimated the value of the public opinion.
What do you mean?
Cutter bought off everyone at that trial, even the court usher. But the press figured it out and started to ask questions. Nowadays, the right headline in the paper sends more heads rolling than the guillotine during the French Revolution. The palms Cutter greased pulled away because they were afraid of a scandal and left him all alone. Greasing palms is a good strategy, Jack, but you always need to remember that you're dealing with people who hide behind their business card.
What happened to Cutter?
That's the best part. Cutter was found innocent at the first trial, but there was another one a few months later, and it didn't turn out as well for him.
Did he go to jail?
Yeah, he was locked up, and then he was shut up. They found him in his cell with a knife in his back. This sent the entire organization here in New York crumbling down. And with it, all the speculations about the involvement of politicians in white-collar crime came to an end.
So they all saved their faces.
That's right, Jack. Cutter's death was as fortunate as it was suspicious.
Well, at least I have a name now. Samuel Cutter. And if he has ever been arrested before, I'm sure that the police archives will have a nice file about him. I'd better go there.
Let's find out more information.
Do you know anything about a guy called the Turk?
No, pal, this name doesn't tell me anything. But it doesn't sound like someone you should get too chummy with.
Definitely not. Did you ever hear the name Sean McClane?
Sean McClane? No, pal, nothing. Never heard of him.
Thanks for the information, Moore.
No problem, pal. If you need anything, call day or night.
Well, I'm going to end the video here, and we'll continue next time.